3, 2, 1.
And now, the man that will take us on that special journey to the Dirk Side.
Dirk, dude, look at the time. You're totally late. You gotta go to your show. Let's go.
Yeah, you see that guy that was in here? Well, he's one of those baristas, or whatever the heck they call. And he works at one of those little snooty coffee houses down in Pasadena. And I told him, I don't like that fruit coffee. It's too bitter. And he told me, he said, well, I should go down there and try the blonde. So I went down there and I got my face slapped. And I said, dude, you told me to try the blonde. And he says, no, I meant the blonde roast. There we go. Anyway, I never had much luck with women anyway. Well, how about that coughing flu? Oh, I tell you. Just getting over that flu.
How about it?
I don't have anything funny to say about it, but man, it sure kicked my rear end. I was bedridden, my throat's still scratchy, and it's been like over 3 weeks. But thank God I made sure I gave it to everyone that works here at KGEM. So at least I can look positively on it. I almost killed my lighting guy. My sound guy, he got away unscathed. A couple editors, they were almost killed. So yeah, so I feel good. Feel good. Got to be that way. Yeah, call me old typhoid Dirky. Yeah. Anyway, so did you hear about the news that to celebrate St. Patrick's Day, Carnival Cruises made sure all their toilets backed up with green water? Very festive. Anyway, I was reading this fortune cookie that said, knowledge is knowing a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is knowing not to put it into a fruit salad. See, because it seemed to be profound to me, but anyway. So, there was this man, and he was talking to his wife, and he said, you know, if my father had not willed me a great fortune, would you still have married me? And she says, sure, I would have married you no matter who gave you that big fortune. Because she was into money. Yeah, boy. All right. Anyway, tough crowd. And how about that controversy down at the History Channel where they cast, the person they cast for the devil is a person who looks identical to President Obama. And they denied it. They said it was purely coincidental and it was unintentional. But of course, they are having a little trouble explaining why the devil goes in the Garden of Eden and he tempts Adam and Eve with affordable health care. They got a little problem there. But one thing now is that the Republicans are trying to make a deal with him now. Because see, they like to make a deal with the devil. See, Anyway. And how about that poor China? They have another environmental snafu, as if they can handle another one. Apparently farmers, a big farm, was hit by a disease, and to get rid of their sick pigs, they decided to just take all 13,000 of them and dump them into a river. And when the Chinese government came and told the people downstream, don't worry about it. It shouldn't affect your drinking water quality. Now, wait a minute. I'm thinking, what kind of water are you already drinking where you can dump 13,000 rotten pigs into it and it doesn't affect the taste or quality? Ugh. Anyway, I tell you. Well, listen, I want you guys to sit back, enjoy the show. We're going to have a great guest. a wonderful person, fine citizen of our city, and sit back, enjoy yourself, and relax. And we'll be right back. Tonight, my guest is Hannah Nielsen, and she's been with us here at KGEM for over a year now, and just when she landed on our door like a little angel, it was a wonderful blessing, and she's just been producing short films after another, and her most recent was this lovely blues short film that was shown in the AOF Film Festival last August. Hello, Hannah. You look wonderful as always.
Thank you.
I always love the way you dress, and I love your fashion. And
well, I try to, raise the bar at KGEM.
Good.
Yeah.
And compensate for me lowering the bar. So.
Yeah, no Hawaiian shirt.
A few years ago, you came to KGEM, and you brought a lot of wonderful things inside.
Thanks. Well, it's only been 1 year ago, but you're not the first to think it's been many, many years that I've been here, which I don't really know how to interpret that, but...
It just seems like forever. No. I mean, you went to college for screenwriting?
Yeah, for screenwriting, film studies, that kind of thing, and I recently completed a short film that premiered at the Action on Film Festival in Monrovia. It's called Spotlight on 1920s Jazz.
Yeah, I saw that, and I liked it. It was very well, and so you changed roles. You were also an interviewer, and then you were a voiceover in it, and then you also acted a little bit in it. You sang a song,
yeah,
and that
there
was
was some performance, and I directed and edited and wrote it. I produced it. I did many things on that.
I really liked the editing. Well, I mean, obviously the performance was just wonderful, and it just left as on its own, it would have been wonderful. But the way you edited it, did that little slow down the time and sped up the time, kind of really made it feel so dreamy, and I loved it.
Yeah, well, the goal was to try and mimic as much of the 1920s style as possible, and just have that as a visual influence along with, what we were talking about. So.
And of course, it was neat that you met Mr. Robertson.
Yeah, Clarence Robinson.
Yeah, that was meant to be just a short interview, and then it blossomed into where he helped you into, or a little bit.
Yeah, we did the performance and the interview all in one day, and that was just spontaneous. We hadn't met before. I'd met him just briefly and asked him if he wanted to take part, so we hadn't rehearsed. So all the music that you hear, that was basically live. We just did 1 or 2 takes.
Wow, that is neat. That is neat.
Yeah, because I wanted it to have that kind of spontaneous feel of jazz, because a lot of times when musicians get together, they've never met before, they've never practiced, they kind of know the same song, and then they just start playing.
Yeah, and they feel each other out, and it's kind of neat.
Yeah, so it was, considering, all the time pressure and stuff like that, it was amazing what came out.
Yeah, it was. I felt it was one of the better films in the film festival, and it was good.
Better than Max the Cat. There's no way I'm better than Max the Cat.
That was pretty darn good, though. Max the Cat was pretty good. And that's also another person I need to get on for an interview. Oh, she's got to have everything gluten-free. I don't know how I'm going to be able to give her a gluten-free interview, but I'll have to try.
I don't know.
But, yeah.
Well, I have the same issue, so this has to be gluten-free.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll take the gluten out in editing.
Yeah.
I'll deglutenize it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what's your next project?
Next, I was hoping to do just a short film, like a narrative film, sort of more comedy-based, taking some influences again from the 20s, even though it won't be visually referencing it, but sort of like Buster Keaton, that kind of thing. So I have my actor, I have my producer, I have my script.
Cool. That's the first time I've heard about this, because I was thinking about something else you're doing, but this is great. So this is cool. When are you going to start shooting?
Oh, well, I'm hoping for next month, but we'll see.
And where are you going to shoot at?
It'll be exterior locations, so around Monrovia, Pasadena kind of thing.
Of course, you could always, if you want advice on comedy, you could ask the king of comedy.
Come to the master.
Yeah, but I'm sure you want to. Things on your own.
Slightly different style.
Yeah. So, well, that's good.
Nonverbal, so.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's going to be like that?
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
I like that. I really enjoyed that silent film that came out last year.
The Artist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really well done. I didn't think I was going to like it at all, because I was just like, silent films, and they really conveyed the emotion.
Yeah.
Because that's acting right there. Mm-hmm. And because it's always, before someone says something, if you're already feeling it by their look, then that's a good
it
thing.
is amazing, and we forget, not to, like certain screenwriting dialogue is absolutely wonderful, but, the essence of performance is what you're not saying, what you're still conveying without saying the words. So a lot of times words get in the way, and sort of as a director, I do screenwriting as well, but I'm more like, if it doesn't work, if this phrase or whatever, it's not getting there, take it out. Just, if you can do the same thing for me on camera without saying what I've written, then do it.
My problem is finding actors. Where did you find your actor?
It was someone from here.
Okay.
So,
excellent.
And I had just, he had seen the film that I had done, and he was asking me, well, what else are you doing? And I just sort of gave him the short little synopsis, and he was like, well, I'm also an actor, and he's a very physical actor. He studied movement and everything, and I was just like, oh, because I had someone else in mind, but he's, in acting school, and he's not, I know he doesn't have
time, or?
Well, he doesn't have, like, movement study.
Oh, he's not up to that level
even though he's done improv.
Okay.
So, so I was just sort of like, oh, he's still sort of physically the type I was thinking of, like a Buster Keaton type. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, well, if he can do that, then that's...
Yeah.
perfect. So.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you were doing that other one that was, you kind of put that on hold on the back burner, the one about how people communicate in the modern world.
Yeah, that's still ongoing. I'm going to be shooting some more stuff for that next week. But the interviews, it's about the internet and how it's changed, how we meet people, how we stay in touch with people. And that was my initial thought, but now that we have sort of like the NSA revelations and all of that about that the internet was never a private thing.
Yeah.
And yet people treat it that way, that...
People forget. I think more people forget that they...
Yeah, it's super easy to get in touch and to, start chatting, and it's seemingly, like very personal, the communications you can get into with people.
Yeah.
But, you don't actually know necessarily who you're speaking to. You don't know how they're interpreting it. And now you don't know who's listening, who's,
Yeah, things like that. Even I know, and I consider myself not the sharpest knife in the drawer, and but I do know that that if I kid around, one of the places I won't kid around is on the internet, because it's just and so so I just use it for business purposes. And whenever I log on to Facebook, I always think, okay, how will this help my career or my image, or if I get looked upon for trying to further something. So I act completely different on the internet than I do in person, where, as you know, I kid around a lot.
Yeah, but it's interesting to think how much of a trail, digital trail, everyone has. It's like, because I have emails in one account going back 10 years now.
You don't delete them?
No,
it's just
lazy.
I just
it's not like I've ever reread them.
Yeah. That's the NSA's job, not yours. I get rid of all my emails the minute I read it.
Well, they're still on file somewhere.
Yeah, but that's their job. Let them keep the terabytes of swill that we've both generated. Other than that, if you send me an email, hey Dirk, thanks for your email, I will say, hey, great, she's a wonderful gal. Delete. Now go to the next one. So it's you're going to be filming in about a month or so, and you already got the locations picked out and.
No, I mean, we're still planning that way.
Okay.
To know.
And now, how many actors are you going to need?
Basically 3.
Okay.
Just one lead, and then there's a female, which might be me if I can't find someone else to do it.
Is it going to be some pies in the face, or is it
not
quite like that?
No,
okay.
It's like if you know anything about Buster Keaton, he's
I actually don't.
very well, his stunt work was amazing. I mean, we're not going to be doing stunts for this, but he just conveys so much, and he's just so physically agile, and yet he's completely deadpan throughout.
So he's not making faces as he's
right,
straining
he's not
these
mugging
physical...
for the camera. It's not like Charlie Chaplin, who's very, very much about his physical, his facial expressions. This is much more, like whether there's happiness or tragedy, it's very subtle how he reacts, which is I find it much more interesting.
Yeah, I'll have to go on the internet and look at some of his stuff.
Yeah. So, but yeah, and this has sort of evolved the more I went back and did research, because I was thinking Charlie Chaplin, but then when I found... How'd you get into
Buster Keaton? How old were you? Were you a little girl one day and you saw it?
No, it's very, very recent. The only, my first exposure, I guess, would be there was a Johnny Depp film called Benny and June, where his character basically emulates a lot of Buster Keaton type stunt work and physical comedy. And I would always, that's like one of my favorite little roles that he's done. And but I didn't know the reference. Like when I saw it, I was, a teenager. I didn't know anything like that. But just because I've done a lot more legwork into researching the 1920s for my short documentary, I had sort of this was part of it, but I hadn't necessarily
stumbled across some other stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
So, and then when I saw that, I was like, oh, well, that's what I want. That's, That makes
Huh.
sense for this character. Like, I had already written the script prior to, I'd written the script maybe a couple years ago.
Okay.
But then it fit like how I wanted it conveyed. It was like, oh, well, that's it. So.
Now, are there, that's pretty good.
Do you want to talk about how I first came to KGEM?
Yes, talk about how you first came to KGEM.
Well, thank you for asking.
I'm always got those piercing questions.
Well, it was about a year ago, and I was looking for something where I could get film production experience. Because even though I've, in all my studies,
You even studied in England a little bit, didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I did
I heard that one time. I was like,
a
wow.
master's over
Oh, wow.
there in screenwriting.
Wow, look at you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know, I'm overqualified for everything now.
man. So you came to KGM and they said, hey, lady, yeah.
Yeah, I got
Sure, you
grilled
studied
by
England.
Travis, who's like,
Oh.
so.
We all have. But then you started showing your chops. You had some chops.
Yeah, I didn't know how to edit
Okay.
on the software, but I mean, I'm a writer. I know about that kind of editing, and I've studied film, so I mean,
There's
I
gotta be a
know all
certain
the
flow.
theory.
You know about flow.
Yeah. So the theory, but not the practical stuff. So I taught myself basically within a month or two.
That's
And
pretty
then-
good. Took me a few months.
And then started getting, they would give me little projects, mostly like documentary work. They would shoot a bunch of footage and be like, we didn't write a script, so can you make this into a story? And I would
Cool.
sort of piece it together and come up with a through line and hand it back, and then they'd be like, well, wow, we didn't even see that there. And
Yeah, I
And,
like that.
And then, but it was really the Christmas special that we had, where suddenly everybody realized I could do things.
Well, yeah, you're not only good at producing, but you're also good at performing too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, you're not just
And-
another pretty face. You know.
Well, we had this idea to do sort of like a 60s music video style, and this was because there was a Dean Martin impersonator who shall forever remain nameless, who was going to be the star of it.
Oh, then they never showed up? Is that the problem?
And they were like, well, we should have, like Karen Bullis, who works here, came to me and was like, well, we should have someone in the background, and you could be like the girl accompanying him or maybe singing with him. And I said, sure. I hadn't done any singing in a while, but I was like, okay, I'm game. And we put that together, and I show up on the day, and this guy has phoned in sick.
And I've never seen him, so he's never came back?
Yeah, he never
He's still
came
sick,
back.
probably. Poor guy.
Yeah, so, I mean, Karen, who was directing, was like absolutely, panicking when I showed up. And she's like, can you do it by yourself? And I said, sure,
Yeah.
thanks. So, so that was when people were looking at me being like, oh, you can edit and you can do stuff. And it's
Now
like,
people are
I've
starting to
been
call
here.
you. Yeah, that's when you get calls. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think like the
Yeah.
Christmas videos, those were like the turning point, because I had edited all those myself. I had to learn about music editing, sound editing, all this stuff, just off the bat, and I wanted it really stylized. So the 60s one, I edited as though it was like, a live in studio, like an Andy Williams type show.
Yeah.
I wanted that look to it, and
Because when you're walking
Yes.
around and singing, because you're acting and singing at the same time is a lot harder.
as putting on my editor hat, I was like, my God, this is a mess, because like my best audio takes didn't match the best visual takes, because we had just done the live singing, and so to cut all that together in such a limited time. No, you can do it. You can do a live singing thing, but you rehearse it. We had zero rehearsal. Like I was just, even if
okay.
the guy had shown up.
So what do you want to do next time? You want to just rehearse a lot, or do you want to go in the studio and then just kind of?
I think it depends on how much time we have.
We don't
Depending
have
on what
time.
we're going for.
We don't have any
like,
time.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's KGEM. There's no time. Hurry up.
And this is the only I stumbled across this. I did a 5-minute interstitial, and my buddy came in. It was, you know, Lynn Moon, the famous Lynn Moon. You guys have all known about him, and he's doing a children's book coming out called something with the alligator. Anyway, well, I'm doing a horrible plug, aren't I? Anyway, look him up on the internet.
Something
Lynn
with
Moon.
the alligator. That's the name.
Well, it's a little alligator. He's like it's for kids, you know. He makes friends, and he's a good guy, and stealing's wrong, and anyway.
Something all alligators have
don't
to
smoke
learn
cigarettes
sooner
either,
or later.
all that good stuff that kids are supposed to know.
Yeah.
Anyway, where was I?
You can edit that in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you could do a hell of an interstitial, you know, or a little short thing where it's just like, hey, KGEM in Monrovia, or Christmas in Monrovia, and with the lovely Hannah Nielsen, and you know, have a, you know, like last year it was that 60s thing. Just have something modern, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be great to like have actual musicians, like, because the videos I did, we had no music.
Yeah.
We didn't have any accompaniment, so it'd be great to
but
have
where
people
do we
there.
get musicians that'll show up when we call them? Anyway, well, I'm glad you're on my show.
Yeah.
I'm glad you took time, and
this is fun. I'm loving these rocks.
they glow.
We didn't mention the rocks.
Yeah. Oh, they help your ions. And
really?
Yeah.
Well, my
I'm not saying that your
ions
ions got
need
problems. Are your charges not balanced? Because I'm very unbalanced. Not just psychologically, but ionically.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, thanks for being on my show.
Thanks
it's
for
been
having
wonderful.
me.
Oh,
Yeah.
you know, it's a pleasure, and I can't wait for your next thing that's going to come out. And thank all of you for joining me for this very special interview with Hannah Nielsen. It shouldn't affect your drinking water quality. So I'm thinking, what kind of water are you drinking that my show's not over yet? Still doing jokes here. Anyway, so what kind of water are you drinking that 13,000 rotten pigs do not affect the taste or quality of it? What's going on here? Is my show canceled? I could do better jokes. I'll be funnier. Don't cancel me. Please, no. So tell Travis that tell Mr. Gray that I'll be funnier. I swear. I know. I try not to be liberal. I swear. I'll be more conservative.
Mark needs you now, Dirk.
Okay.